Right, so you might remember the last time I did a pickups video, it came with a warning at the end, if you've seen it, that I was going to have, probably with regards to buying games, a couple of lean months, so the next pickup video might not be very much on it. It turns out that that was a lie, although not at the time, it is now, because I have actually bought quite a few things in the last couple of months since I did a pickups video. So much so, in fact, that this won't be a pickups video. This will be part one of a pickups video, which I'm going to record concurrently, not concurrently, what's the word? Sequentially, I suppose. I'm going to record it all in one go and then split it into two videos, because I think it's going to end up being a bit long. But we'll see. It might just be the one, but there's quite a lot of... I've got a pile here and another pile over there, which I'll get to. So yeah. The first thing I want to state as well is, if you've seen my video on getting retro game bargains on eBay, please feel free to ignore it, because having tested that since, I think it was March when I put that video up, having tested the theory, it turns out that it might have just been a one-off, and it is actually more difficult to get deals on eBay, and as such I have only bought one, managed to win one, a Super Nintendo game, which is Claymates. It's not too bad a game, but it's not brilliant. But having been on, let me think now. Anyway, a lot of auctions for Super Nintendo games over the last couple of months, and I've literally only managed to win one of them. And you're probably talking at this point 70 or 80 different auctions to try and win Super Nintendo games. Now, maybe I'm just not being realistic about the prices of these things are going for now, but then I don't want to be realistic about the prices, because the reason why I'm going for auctions, not buy it nows, is because I don't want to pay a buy it now price. I certainly don't want to pay the asking price in, say, like a pawn shop or something like that, because generally those people know what things are worth and that's what they're selling them at. Right, so with that out of the way, yeah, part one of the two parts, let's get down to business, and yeah, ignore the eBay video, because it turns out the information is useless. Right, so where to start? I think probably the easiest ones to start with is the PlayStation 2 games, because there's not many of them. Every single one of these has come out of a charity shop, and I think for a brilliant deal. Destroy All Humans, a brilliant game, one that I already have, but this was if I look, it was a £1, I think. Yeah, there it is, £1, and at £1 you can't say no, really. So, but because I already have this one, this will probably go down as trade fodder at some point in the future. Lord of the Rings, the Third Age. The box is a little bit beat up, but it's all here, and you can tell that's come from Game at some point, if you know that. And yeah, I could peel this thing off, but what's the point? Yeah, the box is a little bit beat up, but the game and the instruction book are absolutely fine. Again, £1. Star Trek Encounters, same thing. The box has clearly been not loved so much, but all the stuff is here, and again you can tell this one's been through, whether it was originally bought from Game or not, I don't know, but it's certainly been through their trade back scheme, because they love putting little stickers on the instruction manuals there that are really, really handy. If anyone that's ever been and bought second-hand games in the shop Game, you'll know they are a massive fan of putting stickers on everything. Driven to Distraction, same again, another £1. Not one I've actually played, and the reason why there was a few other games in the pound box at the charity shop, and the reason why I was finally swung into picking this one up is because basically I noticed the Atari logo there. Now, I don't have a massive fondness for Atari, but they are one of the companies that have been in the game the longest, but perhaps not as an actual publisher. But they have been in the game one of the longest, and you know, it's basically it's from a sort of selfish point of view in the future, because I know that Atari is one of them labels. Whether the game is good or whether the game is shit is actually irrelevant, because people for some reason will still have a collection of Atari games. It's the same as people will have like a collection of Atlas games, even though they personally might not like sort of RPGs and things like that. They will still have in their collections sets and sets of Atlas games because they're seen as valuable. And Atari, I think the last game I bought with an Atari label on it was Driver 3. And if anyone knows anything about that game, it is an utter pile of tripe. But because it's got an Atari label, you know, it's still like a fiver. So, it's, yeah. Anyway, Jack and Daxter. Absolutely brilliant game. You couldn't go wrong. And honestly, this cover, apart from the fact that somebody in the charity shop has felt tipped on it, looks like the original price was £2.60 in Oxfam. This is in pretty good nick, although I can't seem to get the map folded up correctly. It just doesn't look right. I mean, I don't know if this game came with an instruction manual originally, but this one doesn't seem to, and in fact all the power line and anti-piracy stuff is on this map, so I'm guessing that is the instruction book. But it doesn't matter which way I've tried to fold this up, it just doesn't quite look right, so I don't know. There you go. Shark Tale. No, I haven't played this on the PlayStation 2. I played it on the... What's the console I'm thinking of? The Nintendo... Not the DS. What was the one before the DS? The SP. I had an SP and had a copy of Shark Tale on that, and it was a terrible game. So, terrible game. Pretty piss-poor film. I think notable for having an animated Will Smith, and that's about it. Yeah. But it was £1, so what can you do? Dynasty Warriors 2. Again, in really sort of quite good condition. You know, there's quite often some of these games, apart from this bit up here, I suppose, there's a few dents up there. Instruction manual looks like it's never been taken out of the case, let alone opened. This has seen better days, but then... Yeah, Dynasty Warriors 2, again, £1. In fact, that one was it £1? I think that one was 99p, yeah, 99p, that one. And finally, Final Fantasy X2. What can you say about this game? It's got to be probably one of the weakest Final Fantasy games there's been in a very long time. Apart from all the 13 ones that nobody seems to like, but I quite like them. But again, this looks like it's hardly been touched, hardly been played. It's got the enemy card in here. It's got the instruction manual that looks like it's never been out of the box. And again, this is another one that I've already got. I bought this on their release when it came out, when I had my PlayStation 2. I actually had this pre-ordered, believe it or not, because it was so hyped, this game, and after playing X, I had to buy it. And remember being very, very disappointed that day. But yeah, again, this will be trade fodder at some point, because, you know, what else am I going to do with it? But at 99p, how can you say no at that price? Anyway, I think that's all the older generation stuff coming out. Now on to the PlayStation 3 stuff, and this is all... Right, these can go as a twofer. Dragon's Dogma and Dragon's Dogma Dark Horizon. Yeah. They were See, I do keep a list of all the prices I paid for everything. Right, okay. So this one was $2.75, and again, it's all complete instruction manual, blah de blah de blah. Oh, what's this? Little advert for Resident Evil 6 behind the disc. Oh no, it's for a demo of Resident Evil 6. Okay. So yeah, what was that? £2.75 for that one, and £6.25 for that one. Maybe a little overpriced, but it was on my list of things to get when I see it. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to come with a manual. It does come with like this little one-page thing on what the controls are, and because that's there, I'm guessing this is one of the games that doesn't come with a manual, which I find really irritating because I do like manuals. I think it's nice if you've got a physical copy of something to actually have a bit of paperwork to back it up. Anyway, PlayStation All-Stars Bot Battle Royale. Now, this includes cross-buy when you buy it new. I don't know if it includes cross-buy now, because obviously I've bought this second-hand. It's very rare that I buy new games, to be honest, especially for the PlayStation 3. And again, game and manual look like they've never even been touched, apart from there's a slight crack in the box. I don't know if you can see that very clearly on the camera. But this is basically the PlayStation version of Smash Brothers, so you know exactly what that game is going to be about. Dante's Inferno. Now, I don't think this is the Dante from damn, the name of the series got it, Devil May Cry. There's a different Dante. This could be the one from the book, which I haven't read, and nor has anyone. So if you ever hear anyone talking about the Divine Comedy and things like that, nobody's ever read it. Get over it. The only person that ever read it was your university lecturer, and even he didn't understand it. Afro Samurai is a game based on the manga of the same name, and it features Samuel L. Jackson, Ron Perlman, and Kelly Hu. H-U. I don't know who Kelly Hu is. But then I'm 35, so I probably wouldn't. But Ron Perlman and Samuel L. Jackson, I've heard of them, so there's presumably some voice acting in this game. Now, bearing in mind I haven't played any of these games, apart from one or two that I already previously owned on the PlayStation, so I can't tell you anything about them. I can only tell you that I've got them. And incidentally, I am planning on, at some point, getting around to reviewing every single one of the games that I own. But if you've seen the previous videos, you know how much of a monumental task that is going to be. This is one I picked up absolutely on a whim. I was on the CEX website and just sort of scouting around looking for cheap games, a couple of cheapies just to keep me going, and they have this thing on the website, whereas if you click on a game, if you have your postcode already there, I mean, because I have an account with them because obviously I've bought stuff from them, it will tell you if something's in your local shop or not. And I was just wandering around having a look at some cheapy sports games, and then it told me that they had this in my local store and there was one copy left. And I thought, well, if I'm going to buy it, if I am going to buy this game, and eventually I do want to pick up some of these sports games and things like that I don't have many of, because I've largely ignored them. There's only one edition of this that I would ever have, and it would have to be the Lord of Darkness edition, because most of the other wrestlers, bearing in mind I haven't watched WWF, that's how long ago since I've watched it, WWE it's called now, I haven't watched WWE since probably about the mid to late 90s. I've had no interest in it. I was sort of fed up, and to be honest, these other guys on the box, I haven't got a Scooby who they are. So which edition am I going to buy? I'm going to buy the one with Undertaker in it, because there's no way around that. Now, Portal 2 I bought. Now, I it's sort of a franchise that pretty much passed me by. Portal, Half-Life, all that. I don't know that much about Valve. I haven't been a massive PC gamer in the last few years. I've mostly, if I play PC games, it's either Civilization or it's some old LucasArts titles that I've got to put on virtual machine and things like that in order to get running. So Half-Life and Portal and things like that have all passed me by. But I did buy the orange box you may have seen in a pickups video about 4 or 5 months ago, and I played Portal. And it is fantastic. I cannot recommend that game enough. So I did a bit of research into Portal 2, and I realised that Stephen Merchant is doing the voice of Wheatley. And so I thought, well, I've got to go and pick that up. So I did, and I think, how much did I pay for Portal 2? Oh, that was quite expensive. That was £12. But for my money, this is one on the list that I have played, and I've played this till the end already because I got it a couple of weeks ago, and it is fantastic. I'm not going to ruin it for you, but it is for a game that's themes is so dark. It is really funny, and it's got the guy. I can't remember the character's name. Or the actor's name, in fact. In the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, the guy that plays J. Jonah Jameson, it's got his voice acting in it as well, which it's just a funny voice. It's really good. It's a brilliant game. I can't recommend it enough. See, there's my review for that. I don't need to do one though. Right, this is an interesting one. Because this is a game that when it first came out, again, completely passed me by. And it was only... What was I doing? I was reading up something on... I'm terrible with names at the moment. The guy who played Gollum, who's in this. Maybe it says his name on it. Andy Serkis. That's it. I was reading up something on Andy Serkis, and it said that he was in this game. He plays like 3 or 4 people in this game, and I'm like, oh, what's this? I've never even heard of it. So I went and had a look on the CEX website, and I thought, oh, well, that's reasonably cheap. But what they had there as well, they had this edition, which comes in a nice little book thing here. I'm not going to lift it up because the case, it is actually quite a fragile case. It comes with a soundtrack as well, CD soundtrack, and it comes with the guy who basically wrote the game. Comes up. It's got this book in it as well by the guy who wrote the game. He wrote this book, The Tesseract, and what else does he write here? The Beach, apparently. Yeah, so this is the same author as The Beach. Now, I've seen the film The Beach. I've never read the book. I have no idea who wrote it. But yeah, how often does a game come with like a novel, basically? I mean, you don't. It's not something you see. So I thought, yeah, well, if I'm going to buy the game, I may as well have this one with the soundtrack and the book and all the rest of it. Why not? It's called the Talent Pack. So normally these are called like special edition or limited edition or blah, blah, blah. This one's called the Talent Pack. I don't know where that title comes from. Presumably the Talent Pack is a reference to something in this novel or something in the game. Having not played it, I haven't got a clue. But yeah, that's probably the version you want to look out for. Oh, apparently the guy wrote 28 Days Later as well. It says on the back. The same author wrote this, The Beach, 28 Days Later, and whatever the novel is, Tesseract? Yeah. So, obviously, prolific writer. What else is this one? What's this? Bladestorm, The 100 Years' War. This is another one that I picked up. I added to the list on a whim because somebody, I can't remember who, somebody was telling me about this a long while ago, and this is a reasonably early release game. So its BLS number is 113, so that's in the first 3 months of the PlayStation 3 being released, and I'd never heard of it, but somebody mentioned it to me, said, oh, you might like this, and yeah, so I just went out and bought it and still haven't played it because I am hopeless at finding the time to play games. This is another one that somebody mentioned to me and said it's pretty good. Apparently, although it doesn't say on the box, the person who mentioned this to me said that David Lynch has some sort of involvement in this, but that's not evident by reading anything on the box, so it might not be true. But yeah, Deadly Premonition, the director's cut. Whoever it was that was telling me about this might have led me up the garden path. But there we are. Even if it's in the same vein as David Lynch or something like that, then it might be okay. This is a PlayStation Move version. It's got director's cut written on it, which is always a good sign. I don't know if there is a standard version, but yeah, Deadly Premonition, director's cut, and I think that was another reasonably cheap. Oh no, that was another expensive one. It was £8.25 I paid for that. Oh, it's a good thing I keep track of this because I think I was spending no money at all. Right, another one, special edition. Basically, didn't even need this, but I do like Final Fantasy games. I like to have the special and collector's edition, and I didn't have one for 13. I have pretty much all the versions of 13 too, apart from the one that came with that stupid t-shirt, because frankly I think a 20 quid markup for a t-shirt that's not going to fit me, because they always invariably turn up as medium, it was a bit of a waste of money. But anyway, this was one I purely bought because I didn't have it, and I like to have the special edition versions, and in fact there's a few Final Fantasy games that I would like to get the standard versions of because I'm fed up opening cardboard boxes in order to play the game. So I already had the standard version of this, and that's another one that I've played through, unfortunately, although towards the end of the game it isn't too bad. But you know, anyway, you don't need my review on that. The entire internet has reviewed the Final Fantasy 13 series of games, and you know, if you hear any of them reviews, you'll never play them again. Talking of poorly received, poorly reviewed games, I found this on eBay, and as some of you may know, if you've been following my stuff before, I still haven't got round to buying a PlayStation 4. Now, there's a few reasons for that, which hopefully I will reiterate. I won't be reiterating, I'll be iterating to you in a future video the reasons why I haven't jumped on the PlayStation 4 bandwagon yet, even though I have actually started buying games for it. So I'm already of the mindset that that is the next console I'm going to buy. But I found this on eBay. Now, I'm not going to go into the backstory with No Man's Sky. I'm not even going to go into what's happening with No Man's Sky at the moment because, quite frankly, I think it's an utter shambles. Not the game itself, but all the stuff that's going around about it. So I'm not going to get into that because if you follow any modern gamer on YouTube, you already know the story with what's going on with the development team and the guy that's gone AWOL and all the rest of it. But I knew I wanted to get this because I'm old enough to remember a game called Elite on the... I mean, I know it originally came out for the BBC. I didn't have a BBC computer, so I played it on the... I think it was the Amiga. Perhaps it was later on when on the PC. But I definitely enjoyed Elite, and this is basically like, to my mind, anyway, if not to anyone else's, this is like a modern version of Elite. But without being able to be a pirate, I suppose. Anyway, found it on eBay, £20, couldn't say no really. There were loads of people getting rid of this game on the basically the first week of its release, and yeah, I thought if I can find a copy of this for below 20 quid, then I will definitely buy it. And this one came in with postage at exactly £20, so I had to buy it. I'd already set the rules for myself, and so there's no point in flouting the rules. Right, so I think this is going to be part one. The second part is going to be imports and sealed stuff and new stuff that I've bought. Like this pile here that we've just gone through was all second-hand stuff, so it's all charity shops, auctions, all stuff that people have already put their grubby fingers on. The stuff I've got to show, I think, is a nice little pile of brand new stuff, and maybe some surprising stuff as well. If you followed my stuff before, you'll know that I don't often buy new stuff, but there's a very specific reason why I have in this case. So I'll save that for the next part of this. If you're going to watch them back to back, then brilliant. Yeah, we'll go straight on to part two, and I will see you in the next video.